And welcome back once again to the PCS Summer Split in this best of 5 series between CTBC Flying Oyster and Frank Esports. It is now match point officially. CFO are one game away from taking it all into the next round. But before we do that, I do want to shout out our lovely sponsors. They're also CFO sponsor, it is CTBC Bank, who have been with us by our side this whole darn time. And of course, joining us for this playoffs is China Airlines. Thank you so much for making the PCS possible. Now, Clement, CFO, looks like they're going to be going back to red side because, Frank, with their loss, they do get to move back to blue. I know that changes things, shakes things up a little bit in the pick and ban. What do you expect to see?
So I think Frank Esports are going to take what's open out of the Sivir and hopefully ban the Poppy in the meantime. I think their bans are pretty much locked in. So it's Kalista, Azir, and the third ban most likely going to be the Poppy, and they leave Sivir as the only option open. So the question really is for on the other side for CFO, what they want to take in their first rotation or how they want to counter the Sivir. Personally, I think they're probably just going to ban the Sivir away, and we're going to see a more reset back into standard compositions here. But the big thing for me is still the idea of how CFO want to play. Can actually Frank Esports move away from these flanking compositions, from these dive compositions, into something different and completely invalidate the way that CFO have been drafting. You know, CFO has just been going all the way into these counter dive, reset team fight compositions. So Frank, if they decide to go for a front to back, I think it would throw CFO off guard.
Yeah, that could be the way to win it and turn us into a 5-game series going the distance. Bans looking similar. Yep, that Poppy, of course, being banned away does mean that's not going to happen. And Kalista, Azir, everything just about predicted. It seems like if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So far, blue side, 100% win rate in this series, Clement.
Yeah, it does seem like blue side has been probably the stronger side throughout this entire time. And it really has just been because of how powerful Sivir is. I think Sivir is very much worthy of a first pick. Even after 12.14, things really haven't changed all that much. This would be interesting, but yeah, it really isn't what Frank Esports go for most of the time. I don't think they've ever been a team that plays Lucian Nami, or two teams that do that, or have been J-Team. And I can't remember the other one off the top of my head, but it's not one of these two.
I think it might have been DCG, but yeah, not in this particular series. These two teams don't really do it. CFO, they opt to take the Jacks away from YSKM early on, and that would be an interesting turnabout here. Nah, just having a little bit of fun, taunting him, as it were, as they grab the Nautilus for Koala.
So the Knot is an interesting take here. If you look at the previous drafts, they actually did not prioritize the Knot this early on. It usually has been the recall that they decided to take away. So it could signal that CFO are feeling confident enough in their laning phase, especially their bot lane, which they basically won all 3 times, to now go for a more aggressive strategy. Yeah, this looks like CFO putting the foot on the gas pedal and just going straight for bot lane kills.
Well, Gemini has had quite the Viego presence in this split. Certainly a lot of success on that champion for Frank Esports. Looks like it's the tried and true. They're going to go back to the Camille hovered and locked in for YSKM.
And the junglers here are, if you think about the Viego, typically what we've seen is the Lee Sin coming out. That's not really a big polo champion though. So I'm looking down at his board. He still has the Trundle and the Wukong.
The Nocturne's still up. Wukong, yeah, Wukong makes a lot of sense, although it got deleted pretty fast last time. That will be the lockdown and lock-in, I should say, as they will have a lot of lockdown on their side. And for CFO, it'll be pretty comfortable to go back to Aphelios for Shun.
Oh, this is interesting. Actually, thinking about going for the Renekton a little bit earlier. This didn't go as well as CFO would have hoped the first time around. But with CFO's current compositions, you can tell that this is a very different direction coming in for them. They're still going to go for the Aphelios at the end. I feel like this is a much more steady pick, and you have the Gravitum to set up for the kill potential in the bot lane as well. So I personally, the way I see this draft is CFO are going to, hey, you know what? We've won bot lane all 3 times. Why don't we push it a little bit more? Let's get the engage this time in the bottom side, and let's also get Gemini that can snowball off these kills.
Oh yeah. Into the second phase of bans we go. Still looking to see what Rest's top lane pick will be. I'm wondering if that Renekton was just trying to draw the ban out and Silas ban away from Pretender. I do like this. It was a big part of the success that Frank Esports have had. Bringing Mission good matchups and give him something he can do in this one. Back over to Frank's side.
So the champions that we have left on the side here are Swain, Lissandra, Victor, and Talia. None of those really feel super on point coming in from Pretender, to be honest. I feel like almost Swain would be the better option just because it can survive a lot of that burst damage.
You're forgetting one very important champion there. What about the Yone?
Oh, that's true. It's been a while
That's
since
a Pretender champion. Yeah, it has been a bit. But I think it could come through. I think it's possible. Yumi ban up against carries. Okay.
And another big question is what they're actually going to run in carries, because he doesn't have a lot of pure engaged tank champions. The next one on his docket would actually be the Rakan. And I'm not sure.
Alistar is available too.
Yeah, but the Alistar, I would say, is less of a pure engaged champion. At least not the way that carries plays it most of the time. So it's going to be very interesting to see here. CFO most likely just going to go over mid laner. I feel like with this composition, they can just go for... Oh, I was thinking that maybe they'd go for the Orianna, but this time they're going to go with the Talia. Still try to focus down onto the bottom side of the map. Ori would be okay here, you know, not great, but
yeah.
This is something
can Pretender
I forgot
pull
about.
LeBlanc? Yeah, can we see this back again? It's been a little while. Not this split at all, I don't think.
Yeah, he hasn't
and
played
he will lock it. All right.
Okay, and the last one, they do need to get some more engages down here. Definitely not. Oh, Blitzcrank is something that's been popping up a lot at 12.14. Would be good with
it's showing up a little bit.
Leona's
Leona
still
is
like
a lot more of a safe, reliable pick. Yeah.
Wouldn't be too surprised to see it here. I think it has a bit of a better lockdown compared to the Rakan here, so they're going to go for this one. Frank Esports going to play tempo, and CFO going to play full-on bot lane here. I do think that CFO, as it currently stands, have the weaker 2v2. So Frank Esports, if there's ever a game where Holo wants to outshine Gemini, it would be this one.
Oh! We got a surprise at last second. Rest goes on the Mordekaiser against YSKM. All bot lane, but it's going to be a spicy top too.
Yeah, this one is a pick that it can be a little bit dangerous against the Camille. It's a matchup that's very skill dependent and typically does actually go into the Camille's favor because Camille can play the lane in a couple more ways. I feel like with the Mordekaiser, you need to shadow this champion 24/7. You need to make sure that he gets to grow up in the early game. And Camille plus Ukko, yeah, it makes the gank so much easier here. So we're going to see how this early game goes, but I feel like CFO actually have... just talking about the draft, I do like Frankie's draft a little bit more. I feel like there's too many weaknesses in both Mordekaiser and Talia that are left open to expose. So the way that CFO most likely need to get through this is actually accelerate the bot lane so quickly that the jungle is actually pulled on. If they don't do that, I feel like there's a lot of chances for LeBlanc and Wukong to just snowball kills.
Yeah, Pretender's a pretty solid assassin player. Right? I do think it's easy to forget in this, in what has been the meta for most of our split, where it has been a lot more focused on things like the control mages. But now that it's come back, LeBlanc being picked up, it's definitely looking like an opportunity for Frank to bring us back and make this a game 5. And the Talia, definitely exploitable as we saw in the early game. I think for Mission, his job isn't necessarily to dish as much damage this time around, at least, because they have a lot more damage dealers. The question is, can they all survive out in the laning phase? Will CFO be able to hold on and get into that stage of the game where their bot lane can take over and get themselves the series win in 4? Or will it be Frank Esports bringing this back and bringing us to a game 5? We're about to find out.
I've got some good news for Nightstar out there. I think we're going to game 5. I feel like this strategy coming in is much more focused from Frank. It just try to snowball early. You can catch people across the map. In terms of team fights, I also think it's a bit of a wash. I wouldn't say necessarily that CFO has a decided lead when it comes to the 5v5s there either. So we will see how this plays out. I do expect Frank to start on the bottom side and just start moving Holo into the top. There's a lot of chances if Mordekaiser over pushes or if Mission gets hit by a chain to follow up with a kill right off the bat.
Yeah, there's a lot of risk here. And remember what these two teams are fighting for right now, right? The winner of this series goes and faces PSG Talon, our reigning champions, in the next round. Frank have already managed to find some wins against them, and we'll see if they would be enough if they can bring it back to Game 5 and then win the whole thing. That'd be big. But for CFO, that's personal. It's a team they just barely lost out on a trip to MSI against.
Ooh, yeah, and we have to remember, in that series where it went 9 games, CFO actually won more games compared to PSG there. So, you know, I feel like
work out.
That's the magic of double elim, I have to say.
Yeah.
If you get into the finals, it doesn't really matter how you got there. So, we are going to get the start here, both sides heading towards the top side, and we can see this is typically how Mordekaisers play the top side when they're under threat. They just let the enemy Camille kind of push them in for the first couple of levels. So I do expect Frank to kind of focus more on Mission here. Mission has been someone to fall to early ganks quite frequently. So see if he missteps this time.
Chains do land. He actually sidesteps all of the Taliyah poke. And yeah, Pretender just showing up and has had a pretty aggressive stance. Mission has been one of the more exploitable members of this team in this series.
We're going to be taking a look at the bot lane this time, and what I love about this combination is you got the Gravitum and you got the Death Charge. It just makes it so hard for the Zeri to actually get away. It's 2 ultimates that are point-and-click crowd control, and then you have the Gemini Viego just flying in here. So I really think CFO have a great kill combination. It can work even before 6 here, and we do see Gemini going for a cross map into the Crux here, so if there is an opportunity that presents itself, we could be seeing a kill.
He certainly could. Yeah, Mission already taken low, almost boom as well. Meanwhile, up in the top, YSKM trying his best to bully out Rest, who yoinks him a little bit close to the tower, but not quite within range to try and get the play. We'll have to keep an eye up there, as it's definitely with YSKM having a much better early game than we saw last time around on that Jax. He was bullied quite a lot. Here comes Gemini, spotted by Eminem. Dodges the Ultra Shock damage.
Yeah, good defensive play from the carries. He wards out onto the Krugs, knows that the wave is coming in, make sure that his AD carry is safe. In the meantime, we knew that Frank Esports was likely going to get a wave shove in, and now they also know that the jungler is not on this side of the map, so Rest is left to his own devices. He has to keep his HP up or just be dove and killed here.
Yeah, YSKM could be having the last laugh after last game, and Holo doesn't go for it. Instead, he just steals a few of the Krugs away, walks onto the ward. Now information's given. Will he actually commit to this back, or is it all a ruse?
It looks like Rest is willing to just step up here, and he is going to take
there we go.
A rather harsh trade here. And this is what we expect out of Mordekaisers. Typically, you want to play a very safe early game. Mordekaiser, if you have a bad first level 3, get ganked, it could be lights out for you. So, kind of to be expected here. We also had Viego going on the other way. And this is kind of what I expected out of the draft. It's just that Frank Esports should have decided leads in both of their solo lanes. It's just about how much they can actually stretch and snowball this. And so far, Mission has actually been doing a pretty good job holding onto his flash, keeping himself steady with the CS here as well.
Yeah, for all that pressure that was put out by Pretender, it didn't translate into anything. There wasn't no gank attempts coming out of Holo. He was focused on the bot side of the map. And at least Eminem, who was in a fairly big CS hole as well, has managed to catch back up on Shun. And you know, I'm curious to see if Azeri can actually win this series, because nobody has been able to do it so far. Gemini caught out by YSKM, and a lot of damage as he gets that hook shot into the adaptive defenses. And oh my goodness, that tack sweep and the precision protocol gets denied there. Empowered auto not quite there, but YSKM is just feeling himself. Meanwhile, back in the mid, you've got Carries, Holo, and Pretender all
really
here. Yeah, with Mission and Koala.
Wonder what happened in the scuffle here. Pretender actually had to flash away, so I'm guessing that it was something landed by Koala. Koala also flashed here. So mid flash trade for support flash trade. About equal, just seeing how LeBlanc doesn't really need the flash most of the times.
CDR boots for rest already completed, so he does get those to at least get access to his abilities a little more frequently. And well, still no first blood, but not for lack of trying. Carries comes back down to the bottom lane. Shun staying safe aside his minions and has that level advantage, and once again rebuilding the CS lead over M&M.
I think we're very close to the point where we could see Nautilus coming in with some ganks right here. The Gravitum is prepared, and we do have Viego on the bottom side of the map. Plus, Mission is missing on the map, so I think Frank is going to play incredibly safe. Indeed, they're even going to call Holo to aid them here. They know that the potential play is coming.
Yeah, Mission now with level 6 does have access to the Weaver's Wall, so he could turn this into an unfavorable numbers game for Frank Esports. But the Dragon is the prize they are seeking. On the CFO side, Mountain up first, and they will start it.
Oh, Rust going
back
in.
Up top, Rustin, YSKM dueling it out a little bit. That Death Realm already immediately popped into the Obliterate. That's a big hit. YSKM, he's sticking around, and there's nowhere to go as he burns that ultimatum just in time to die solo to the veteran top laner.
Oh, that was so beautifully done. Rest actually uses the Death Realm mid-hook shot to cut off the remaining range of the ability. It prevents him from getting away as well, and just walks him down there. Oh, insane. Insanely well done here by Rest to find that kill. In the meantime, a little bit more of scuffle in mid.
Oh boy. Yeah, really nice start. Again, first blood solo kill. It happened earlier today as well, but the opposite side, YSKM. That top lane is just one heck of a spicy matchup. Whenever these two meet, at least YSKM's gotten a win up against his opponent, but Rest certainly knows how to give just as good as he gets.
Yeah, let's watch this again. So YSKM does have a level disadvantage. He takes a lot of damage and also loses the bone plating right off the bat. Rest knows that this is the go signal. Look at him holding onto the death charge to cut off the remainder range of the hook shot right here. And he knows YSKM doesn't have a flash remaining. Able to chase him down after a long lane. Really nicely done. And this is what we were saying. YSKM might be the solo kill king of the PCS, but Rest is still the top dog.
Yeah, and he has the experience to boot and knows exactly what he's doing in this matchup. And whoa, Gemini! He gets away with Grand Theft Red buff. That was close.
But in the meantime, we also do have the Herald being stolen here by Holo. Well, not stolen, taken away here.
Yeah. And it's a trade, you know, it's an extended trade is what we can call it.
Absolutely. I think this should go into the top lane, but they most likely wanted to go top, but it's also very dangerous because the Death Realm is there and Rest can just kind of spoil your own plans by getting another solo kill. So I think most likely they're going to use it as a Drake flank. That's probably the other option for them, and maybe find someone to start off a team fight when they do go for the next Hextech Drake. This one's going to be absolutely huge. Everyone contests the Hextech Drake. It's 9% CDR. It's also attack speed. Just an absolute insane bonker Drake.
Yeah, we just haven't seen that many of them tonight. It's been all oceans and clouds and some mountains. Like not nearly as many of the Hextechs, and it won't be the Soul, but that's okay. Rest, man, he's showing up big today. Certainly an impressive performance out of this veteran topside. CFO as a team, they just have so much veteran experience across the board, with the exception of Shun. The newest player had a really pop-off performance in his rookie split. Took the entire league by storm, and honestly, probably denied quite a lot of potential top bot lanes MVP candidates, as he really just showed up and delivered, and he's been doing it again here today in the laning phase up against the side of M&M. Holo coming down to the bottom side looking for the lane gank, but Shun and Koala respecting this possibility by playing back.
Yeah, and I will say that CFO, the best thing they've been doing this game is just playing with implied pressure. A lot of times Mission just goes missing on the bottom side. Better to find a trade here.
He gets a little bit of damage on the workaround, and I think he's going to not be able to follow through there, as Gemini was at his back as well. Mission going to be joining up, and I think we're in for a dive. YSKM got to watch his back. Here comes Gemini into the Weaver's Wall. I don't think he's going anywhere, as he actually tries to bait this out of the Hextech Ultimatum, flashes away himself, and that is maybe the play that saves the day right now. Pretender clears the wave away.
Really nicely done. I would say CFO still find a small win just because they get the extra flash out of YSKM, but YSKM with some nifty moves actually knocks everyone away with the Hextech ultimatum and then flashes backwards. Really well played on his part to get out.
There's nobody here to react. Mission. Ooh, he's going to have to walk it back slow, so this is going to be a lot of plates taken. Do one more if they get that one on the last Shelly hit. There we go. Nicely done by Frank.
Yeah. Well, what's going to happen either way with the Herald somewhere, but you know, getting out on the mid lane I think is definitely a lot better than getting it on bot. I didn't think that CFO were necessarily going to play too hard onto the bottom side. And, you know, now we have this situation where CFO, I think going into this Drake fight, actually has a pretty sizable lead. There is no flanking pressure from the Herald anymore. And we also have a TP from Rest here. So if he really wants to join, that's going to be a huge difference maker. If he manages to take away Holo, that's the smite and the main initiation coming from Frank Esports. So let's see how they want to play it.
Dragon advantage looking to stack that up. Gemini coming in through the choke. Shun, full control on that bot side. Wave push does mean they can set this one up. Holo carries. Pretender don't want to give this away, but they know they won't have the numbers advantage no matter what. Rest can teleport in anytime he wants. He's actually going to start off the back and come into the mid lane. Still pretty early into this game, if you remember. And Koala gets stopped up for just a second, but they turn the damage on to carries instead. Way too much. Here comes Rest into the fight after the fact, and Holo, his clone gets deleted, but that just means the real one is left bare. Dragon resets, but there's no smite to contest.
Yeah, that was a bit of an awkward position. Frank didn't want to actually commit to this one. I think they were just playing for the steal. Let's see if the Ultra Laser can find it.
So close! Oh my word.
Oh, that has to be heartbreak there. So Frank weren't the ones that wanted to engage. They're just trying to hover around and hopefully find a steal somewhere on the Drake. But unfortunately for them, Karis gets caught out. Holo comes in, and then Rest just takes him away. As we talked about, Death Realm, take away the smite, make sure you secure the objective. Really cleanly played by CFO. A little bit of a mishap there for Frank. I really don't think they wanted to go as close as they did onto this objective. I think they were just trying to smite for a kill on the sides here. But Carries goes in a little bit early, gets found out. That prompts Holo for coming in. Well, look at this from the start. Like, Camille never was in position to join this fight, so I just feel like Frank overplayed their hand just a little bit.
Yeah, I think even if you want that Drake, you kind of have to give it up, given everything. Like the teleport already being expended, YSKM can't get involved. And, well, the Mordekaiser is absolutely off to the races there, Clement. Already getting his mythic item completed, or excuse me, the Mark Bell completed already. And that's a little scary. Trying not to die too fast. Speaking of dying, Shun caught up by Carries and M&M. Trying to get the outplay and almost does it actually, but will finally fall. Buys a lot of time for the rest of CFO to arrive. Mission cut off here as Carries flashes forward looking for that one. M&M going to be caught and isolated around the backside. However, Carries is still there for the body block. Not for much longer. They will get the one kill. Carries trying to walk away, gets shoved back into CFO, so they have the last laugh.
Beautiful play coming in from Mission here. Uses the Weaver wall. We thought that was Shun walking into danger. Actually was a bait. Turns out to be a 2-for-1 there. And also, if you look at the position of Pretender, he just got shoved in. There was a jungler right in front of them with a lot of his HP off. So nothing Pretender could do. And CFO are just kind of punishing Frank for grasping at straws here, you know. I feel like Frank Esports, they didn't get enough out of their early game. They had very dominant top lane. They had very dominant mid lane, but they weren't able to chain those two solo lanes together, and CFO were able to weather kind of the early game storm. They were able to put a lot of pressure on bot lane just with the implied Weaver's Wall, not actually even using the Weaver's Wall necessarily. And now we find ourselves into a situation where I think Shun is, you know, been fairly accelerated this game, and the Mordekaiser is a complete menace at this point.
Oh boy, wow, they actually managed to catch Pretender, and he just can't get away. Shun has the final shot, sniped him in the end, and Yeah, talk about acceleration. Meanwhile, though, you can see YSCam is fancying his chances on a rest here, but so much damage there. Into the Death Realm he goes, and even with that Rocket Belt and the Hextech Ultimatum, YSCam, he's still able to dodge a lot of the damage, and even so, it's Gemini coming through. Flashes, goes back in, denied by Gemini, so even when he thought he had a chance, the numbers were not in his favor.
Yeah, he falls down for the 2-for-1, and CFO now find themselves with a massive advantage here. Just a little bit unfortunate for Frank, not being able to utilize that early game. I did wanted to see a bit more skirmishes here. CFO at this point, look at that Viego. The problem now for Frank is if they want to win a fight, they actually need to kill Gemini first, or the chances for him to get a reset are way too high.
And if they don't do that, and even if they manage to, I mean, then you got Defelios to deal with, then you got the Mordekaiser to deal with. So many weapons at this point. Let's take a look at this again. Because Pretender, he gets hooked at max range. Koala, what a huge dredge line, and then Pretender thinks he gets away, but the last auto, YSCam, he chooses this fight with a level disadvantage, goes for the tack sweep into that hook shot, and then Rest is like, all right, bring it. Bring it. Let's make this 1v1. Oh, just kidding. Psych, I brought friends.
It was actually really close for YSCam. YSCam nearly was able to win this one, but unfortunately for him, of course, Gemini was there to help. The timing on his engage, I think, was actually quite good. You got half the HP off of Rest right off the bat. You know, Precision Protocol probably synced up for that one. Unfortunately, not able to make it work, and now CFO have the run of the map. They also have the Weaver's Wall, which means that with this amount of map control, it's very easy to just zone touch. Frank going for a big engagement.
That's a setup. Oh, they might be able to do it here as Holo goes in. That's a really nice start. His vision is taken out of this one by Eminem, but Rest is buying a whole lot of time. The Death Realm zoning just about everybody away. YSCam is going to fall. Gemini gets that reset, turns into Camille himself, turns onto Eminem, and wowzers, it's Shun to the rescue. Huge execution, even with the perfect setup. Frank Esports just have absolutely nothing, and the Shelly charge comes in again. Pretender trying his best misdirect right now, but Gemini has eyes on top of him. He might just get away, but the rest of his team's already dead, man.
Oh, I have to say, Pretender, that was pretty nifty on his part. I like the fact that he was just standing there and pretending that he was actually the clone. Took the damage, waited for the cooldown resets, got out quite nicely. The rest of the fight, it was pretty well done by Frank. You know, they got mission right off the bat. That's absolutely huge for them. But unfortunately, Rest is just too big. He was in the fight already. He got Holo. That's the main backline dive, and a lot of the engage potential down here. So we'll watch this again. Carries finds make a great glacial augment with flying division right off the bat, but unfortunately for them, you know, Rest just hops right on top of Holo. That means Should is completely untouched this fight. And once again, we see YSCam just being targeted down into the back line. Koala saved all his love, all the crowd control, just for the Camille to come flying in. They take him down. YSCam doesn't get any damage. Some nifty moves by Pretender. Credit where credit is due. This is fun to watch. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Good LeBlanc mechanics, but it's not enough to do much more. Just some fun magic tricks, and you can see the damage dealt in that last fight. YSCam just didn't have a chance to get involved. Rest is huge. The Viego's huge. It was, you were just talking about this, that they needed to be able to make the play happen first onto Gemini, and they didn't. It's YSCam now caught, no getting away for him as he issues an ultimatum, but all three members of CFO will just take it straight to him, and now without YSCam on the side lane as a threat, numbers advantage for CFO wherever they choose. They've held Frank to only 2 kills in a tower this game.
Yeah, and it doesn't look like Frank actually had the damage to do much anymore. Shun's been able to get away and even keep his flash on the previous spike, but here they go.
Yeah, looking for this one. That's going to be Holo trying to keep Shun locked up. He flashes, though, over into the Raptor Pit, and now they still are able to take carries out of the fight. Gemini picking up one. Will get shut down. That's big gold to Holo. What can they do with it?
Coming in to find the snipe. Oh, but it takes so much damage.
It's going to be a TP.
Though.
He's back. Right back to the scene of the crime. The question is, do they actually want to interact with this one? YSCam's looking to cut them off at the pass. Should and Koala mission getting shepherded in here, but Rest is going to join. This is just a 4v4. Those numbers don't look good for Frank. They're going to let him walk away.
Yeah, I don't think they can overchase on this one. YSCam flies in, and the Death Realm's already there waiting for him. So Frank Esports are going to be content with getting vision over the Baron Pit here. And the big question, the name of the game right now for Frank Esports is you have to find a pick and you have to find a kill. before Daddy Rest walks into the battlefield. That's kind of what they need to do. And to be fair, they've actually gotten very close attempts here onto Mission, onto Shun. If Shun didn't have his flash there, he was dead. So Frank, I think they've actually been executing quite well off of the deficit that they've had. It's just that the deficit's a little too large.
Yeah, I think this is rough. Frank, they need to win this one to stay alive here, otherwise they will be dropping into the lower bracket, and I think we all just about expected it, but CFO, they're just looking so strong this game, getting off to one of their signature starts, and Rest on this Mordekaiser is huge. He just yoinks in Holo with the Death's Grasp, looking for the obliteration here as he throws on that Death Realm. Nothing he can do about it, and they just lock up YSKM as well. Big Daddy Rest on the play. They move straight for the Baron.
Oh boy, I think Leaky is watching this game with, he must feel really intimidated because his pocket pick, his main, is now being contested by another player in Rest. When you can do something that Rest can't do and then you realize, well, he's still there, Eminem might be able to find some kills back there.
Oh, that's a Gemini! That's going to be the Baron up for the grabs right now. Let's see if they can actually do this. Big shutdown on the shoot. They didn't actually have that one. The Baron goes the way of CFO's mission, finishes the job. But they lose Gemini and Shun in that extended engage.
I spoke too soon. I'm so sorry about that. CFO tried to make
that was
an attempt out of that one.
Mid-sentence caster curse.
Oh, was so close as well. Great target find on Pretender to tag out Gemini, like you said. Good Ultra Shock Laser to start things off. They wait for the right timing here, and watch this as Eminem goes and tags everyone. It was such a good start to the fight. We saw only 900 HP left on the objective, but oh, Koala just saves it so nicely here. Not Koala, sorry. It was actually Mission just saving it so nicely. And I think that was the Baron knockup, actually, that got everyone into midair, allowing for the Talia to clean up.
So, Frank managed to find a fight. However, Eminem loses his life, it looks like, almost immediately. No, he actually turned for a second there. Finally falls down to Mission, and the rest of CFO gonna move on the charge. Holo locked up for a second into the back. Mission gonna get jumped on by YSKM, but I think they're losing members a lot faster than that is going well for them. Mission goes down, but it just doesn't seem to matter because everybody else falls. Pretender's like, wait a minute, I've been here before. I don't like this.
Gemini even winning out the stun ward against a mid laner. This is how fed he is at this point, and there's only one member left. They're not going to let him base and try to clean up the base here. So the big question here is, do they have the minion waves to get a little bit more? It looks like the death times are not enough, so probably just one inhibitor.
Ooh, Gemini. Getting fancy there. All right, well, they're going to be able to take this dragon. It's going to be Ocean Soul. They can't really contest on the Frank side. They're just not in position coming off the cooldown. And well, the base isn't broken. I wouldn't be surprised if their spirits are falling a little bit. Frank Esports are looking like they might be going out in 4.
Yeah, it's only 23 minutes into the game and a very early Drake going down here as well. If I'm CFO, I just never touched an Elder, and I think that will be game here. Someone has to manage the steal.
Watch your eyes on Pretender. Yeah, they do get the Ultra Shock to go for it. Trying for the steal doesn't happen though. Holo, it's a nice attempt. You got to go for it at this point, but they can't quite make it happen. And now Pretender on the wrong side of that Weaver's wall, and Mission jumps onto him, grabs both. It's going to be Shun with the final hit. Now Eminem, YSKM, and Carrie's all running for the door.
Everyone trying to get away, but Gemini from the top lane flank as well. Can he find the stun? YSKM.
He gets shoved back and nowhere for him to go as he tries to delete Mission, pulls himself back, doesn't matter. Speaking of pulling back, Rest is pulling Eminem right into the Death Realm, I should say, and I think that's gonna be it. Karis is heading for the fountain. Heartbreaker, he flashes away, but it does not matter. Even with the death timers not being the highest at the moment, this is breaking into the base. It might just end right here.
Yeah, we still have 23 seconds on Eminem right here, and they're already barreling down onto the Nexus. CFO want to advance to get that rematch with PSG, to get some revenge for Spring Split. There's only these two towers waiting in their wake here. Frank Esports, I think they will hold on for now, as the CFO are just going to play a little bit safer here, get the double inhibitors, and walk out, but you know, they're already at a 14,000 gold advantage at this point.
Yeah, You don't want to throw it away by risking it on the last minute fight. It was very early. The death timers weren't long enough for them to safely push it. The minions were getting cut down, but now they've got supers in 2 lanes. They've got Ocean Soul. Yeah, you talked about not needing to really touch the Elder. I don't think the Elder's even going to come up before this one ends because CFO are eyes on the prize to finish it. And what an incredible performance from this team. The Mordekaiser, the Aphelios, both have just been instrumental, but also, lest we forget, Gemini set this up early. He did everything his team needed to really get them rolling in this game.
I think what was really important was Koala just constantly moving between bottom lane and mid lane. I feel like they were able to neutralize all the aggression from Pretender in this matchup, which is favorable to the LeBlanc, and they were also able to shove in the bot lane in the meantime. Because if Koala goes mid and he shoves in Pretender, then suddenly the bot lane is under so much pressure. We saw CFO able to just bleed away those tower plates with implied Weaver's Wall, not even committing to the play, but just threatening it. And, you know, finding advantages on both sides. And then, of course, you had the solo kill coming in from Rest. So they were able to charge through this early game with all 3 lanes ahead.
Oh, yeah, they were. Looking like they're going to try and close this one out pretty soon by making the last lane push. Setting it up, the supers lining up. Last hold for Frank Esports if they can do it. They will manage to get a 2-member hit on that Leon ultimate. But whoa, where did the Monkey King go? Holo disappears in the blink of an eye. Maybe Pretender can't believe it.
Very unexpected. They still had a tower to play for, so I thought they might have wanted to wait for the engage a little bit more, but no, they actually used both of their ultimates, and that's just rolling out the red carpet for CFO to move on in the bracket here. They're going to get all inhibitors, and this is the last stand.
27.5 minutes. Definitely a quicker game than it has been, and Frank Esports, they've certainly fought like hell. Oh no, locked behind the wall. YSKM tries for the play, denied by Shun going into stasis, and that's going to be one Nexus turret. YSKM's got nowhere left to go. And Shun with a dominating kill. They go flying in. Gemini with the greatest of ease. They will look to end this one. Rest just tanking up everybody's damage. Gemini takes Eminem out. The minions do the dirty work on the tower. And that's going to be the CTBC Flying Oyster flying high to a 3-1 victory over Frank Esports.
Domineering play coming in from CFO. This was the first one in the series that we saw someone be able to take it down on the red side here. And I honestly had a lot of early questions about this draft because it was so different from everything in the previous 3 games. We saw CFO constantly trying to play for a more late game style with the Victor, you know, with the Aphelios, but this time they really do switch it up. They go for early game pressure. They go for a mission onto the Talia, a champion where honestly he wasn't really well known on, and they're able to find massive success in both of Mission's attempts here. So I think they clean out a lot of questions we have for this team. You know, the ability to play tempo for CFO was a big question. We have that solved, and their form now with Koala on point is also solved. CFO looked like a very strong contender to get the revenge later on.
They're not an infallible team, certainly, but they are just so strong, just on point, connecting, almost no delay in their engages, in their plays. The decisions they make are just stellar, and this is what we came to expect from this team in spring. Had a few stumbles over the course of the split, and you know, not having Koala that last week certainly hurt them, but they are back on form, and I think PSG, they are going to be on notice.
Yeah, and this is going to be such an interesting matchup if we're looking forward here, because I feel like PSG are one of those teams that are sort of ill-suited. You could see they're very strong in this patch, or you could see them as kind of falling off in this patch. Especially the top lane, I think is going to be such a worry for Hanabi.
Oh, yeah.
All of his champions have been nerfed almost to the ground. And then you have Rest coming in, back with the Renekton, showcasing the Mordekaiser just before the series. It's going to put a lot of different questions onto the side of PSG that usually just likes to play Gnar, Sejuani, and okay, the Ornn is still there, but that's the only one.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to play front to back, I guess that's the strategy. I think the biggest mismatch in PSG's favor is probably going to be the mid side. For all the effectiveness that the rest of the team had, CFO definitely showed that Mission has been a bit of a liability in lane. I think Pretender punished it a number of times with some help from his jungle. I don't know. I mean, he still had huge impact in the later stages, but yeah, Mission just kind of ended up like inadvertently sacking lane. I'd love to see him on this champion, like maybe roam a little bit more frequently in the laning stage, just full sack it, like channel your inner Nesty. I don't know, but he did look good once the laning phase ended. It's just that particular phase of the game that could go awry for the squad.
I feel like he was targeted pretty heavily in this early game, and in this game, I'm not too surprised that he was going to have a very slow start because it was a double counter in terms of the mid jungle. So I give him a pass on that one. I think it's important that he can play the Talia.
That's fair.
Or at least he can just showcase it. But, you know, in terms of like the big early game tempo champions, you're looking at Ari, LeBlanc, and Swain, and I don't see a single one for me. So I still think Mission could have a lot of room to improve and kind of branch out. The way Gory has been playing for me has just been absolutely insane. I think Gory, statistically, even though we say he hasn't had the strongest of laning phases, he actually still statistically has the most goal difference at 14 minutes out of any minute.
He picks it up. He manages to get it anyways. I mean, I feel like, yeah, it's hard to critique somebody like Mission. He's still able to make it work for himself.
Yeah.
And yeah, Shun in this roster, they've stuck with him solidly for the whole series. I was wondering if they would be doing a little bit of swapping, but no, in the playoffs, it is all Shun so far. I like that strategy. No shade on Atlan, but Shun is just an absolute beast, and he showcased it. He never really lost out on a lane phase. Eminem had some standout performances. Give him credit on the Sivir as well. But Shun just knew exactly what he was doing. He stuck to his guns, specifically all of the Aphelios guns. And we're going to get to see some of the big plays that helped them win the game here. This was the start of a big push. Carries an aggressive sniff for the big stun, but it only lands on the Talia, and that's not enough.
Yeah, a huge thing here was that Rest was already pretty far ahead of the curve. And look at this crowd control portioning coming in from Koala. They wait for YSKM to walk in, make sure they have a clear angle, and they just throw all of the crowd control down on him. This, I think this is, you know, showcasing some of Frank Esports' weaknesses when it does come to that playoff scenario, is they actually have a pretty easy to read composition. They're always going to be running a fighter in the top side, and they're always going to be having some sort of a dive composition. So if you just draft yourself plenty of reset engage, if you just make it difficult for the enemy to run in, then Frank Esports don't really have a different gear to switch towards, you know. And I think CFO read that correctly. They always held on to their crowd control. They always made sure not to waste any of their CC on the jungler, instead always holding it for the damage dealer in YSKM.
Yeah, CFO definitely looking very, very clean in this final game. It was six kills on Frank Esports to the 30 that were held. There were a couple of them that Frank got back, and this could have absolutely been disaster for Flying Oyster. That Baron was up for grabs.
Oh, it
Look
was
at it.
Baron
Sub
that
1,000.
knocked him up.
The knock up. Brother Baron betrays. They came in to save him, and he knows, no, it's a bamboozle. You're taking me out. And yeah, that was, well, it was not.
Yeah, well, at least now we know the Baron Kaiju does not come from Hong Kong. That does not look like a local fan to me. And congratulations to CFO. You know, this is great stuff coming in from them. We're going to be taking a look at the gold graph. Really smooth, and I think this is the biggest problem. If you look at the map, very, very strong level 1 to level 3 coming in from the Camille, coming in from the LeBlanc, but they weren't even able to transition it into, I don't even think they got a first Herald here. So a lot of pressure wasted. And I think most of it did come from the fact that Koala was so active on the map. He's just roaming to mid lane all the time, making sure that Mission can get those backs off unmolested, and just forcing Frank Esports to live in fear of the Weaver's Wall coming down.
Oh yeah, no, I think Frank Esports just didn't really have too much of a chance, and part of it was because Rest was just a monster. He popped off in this game, not just in the lane, that solo kill to get revenge against YSKM for earlier. He just took it straight to him, and we talked about it being a little bit of a risky pick, but it paid off in spades. Gemini helped kickstart the engine, but Rest drove this one all the way across the finish line.
Yeah, and Mordekaiser is so difficult to deal with on this patch. It's honestly been a menace for quite a while now, but very few people have been able to play it. I think it takes a lot of coordination with the jungle and the top laner to make sure this pick actually gets off to a good start and your team doesn't suffer all that much from it. You know, I thought there was a distinct possibility that Mordekaiser, with him being shoved so far in, that we could just see Camille roam mid, and get an easy kill on the mission. But CFO actually read the laning phase very well, and I think this is one of their greatest strengths, is that they're willing to play a later game scale up without worrying too much about it.
Absolutely. Well, with that one done and dusted, the series is won. CFO are going to be moving on, and we're going to be hearing from that top laner, from Rest himself, right on the other side of this break. Don't go anywhere.
Oh my. I've been all night waiting for you to come home. I've been all night waiting for you to come home. Oh my, come on, let's do this dance tonight. I gotta have you, boy, playing with my heart. We look around, but we don't see nobody else. Nobody, nobody.
Give me your loving, give me your loving, give me your loving,
Oh my.
give me your loving, give me your loving, give me your loving.
I couldn't find nobody else like you. Been let down each time that I've tried to find another, but I always come. Hello， 欢迎来到赛后采访环节，我是主持人荔枝。首先恭喜 CFO 战队顺利的拿下今天本场比赛的胜利。Hey guys, I'm Riri and welcome to the post-match interview. Today we've got CFO's top laner Rest. Can you introduce yourself, please? 那今天邀请到上路 Rest 选手来到采访席，先跟大家打个招呼吧。
大家好，我是 CFO 的上路瑞斯特。
So the first question that I want to ask is, of course, today ended in a 3-1. Did the team expect to drop one game to Frank Esports today, though? Especially because during the regular season and tiebreakers, CFO beat Frank Esports 3 times. 那今天第一个问题就是今天赛前有没有预期到会掉一场给 FAK 呢？就是毕竟例行赛还有加赛的3场 BOE 都是与 CFO 获胜。
没有预期到吧？原本会觉得3-0就赢下来，主要还是我第2场失误，所以又多打一场。
So he said that actually they weren't honestly expecting to drop one game versus Frank Esports. He thought that actually they were going to 3-0 Frank Esports today. He said that he personally made some mistakes in that game at number 2, and that was why they had to play that extra game. So the next question I want to ask is also about that game number 2, because a late game in game 2, CFO was behind about 8,000 over gold, but yet the team still managed to find a team fight victory outside your base in the bottom lane. So I want to ask, can you tell us how this happened? 那接下来问题也是关于今天的第2局，就是后期的那一波团 CFO 好像是在经济落后8000多块的情况下反击赢下了团战，能跟观众分享一下当时你们的细节还有思考吗？
细节，感觉那波是我的功劳，因为我说我可以闪晕 AD， 然后我们有悟空嘛，就悟空最后也转得不错，然后就赢下来了。主要是我闪晕的功劳。
So he said that team fight, why they won that, he said it was all him. He said it was all due to his effort because he communicated to the team that he thinks that he can flash and stun the enemy ADC, and then also because Gemini's follow-up with the Wukong spin was very good, and it was very good with his skills, and so they managed to win the team fight. But he also wanted to emphasize at the end that it was all him. All right, so the next question I want to ask is that today we saw a lot of focus on the top lane, especially in the early stages of the game. Your Renekton also got solo killed twice today, and during the regular season, however, you were the one who was solo killing YSKM. So is today kind of like a mistake, or is it because YSKM has improved a lot? 那接下来问题就是关于今天两队就都很明显的就是在针对上路，然后在第2局的时候，鳄鱼 甚至被单杀了2次。然后想问一下，就是例行赛都是有 Red 选手单杀 YSKM，那今天这种状况算是失误吗？还是说可能对方就是进步很多了？
也算是失误吧。主要那波我是故意的，我差一点钱就可以买那个装备，所以还有多打几波，然后就死掉了，缺一点
So
钱。
he said that the reason why he got solo killed, he said that it was because he was only lagging a bit. He said that he should have gone back to base and buy items and come back, but then he didn't. And so YSKM just used the opportunity and was more powerful than him at that point in time. He said that he was deliberately throwing. So the next question is also about YSKM because YSKM has been one of the hottest rising stars in PCS Summer. Can you rate his performance in today's Best of 5 series? 那新手 YSKM 是在夏季赛表现得非常亮眼。Red 选手能不能评价一下今天 YSKM 的表现吗？
今天 YSK， 我觉得他打得蛮好的，他跟其他上路比较不一样，就对线的时候很多激进的操作，觉得他蛮强的。但有时候会玩到自己死掉。
那今天评价他一下，满分是10点的话，会给他几分
10点多
？10分。
8.7分好了。
8.7。
嗯。
How? So he said that he thinks the YSKM is really strong. He thinks that when he goes up in lane versus YSKM, it feels very different than from most of the rest of the PCS top laners. He says that he can tell just from the way that YSKM lanes, puts pressure, and like all the little details when they play out the lane, that he can tell that YSKM is a really good player. He says that sometimes he just lanes versus YSKM and suddenly he dies, and that sort of thing also happens. He said that if he had to rate YSKM out of 10, he would give him an 8.7, which is a really high score. So the next thing I want to ask is that the casters mentioned that 1214 is the rise of duelists, and on this patch Nar also got nerfed. So how has this personally affected you? 那刚才直播他也有提到，就是12.14版本，斗师的崛起，然后跟 Nar 的削弱，对你有什么样的影响呢？
影响觉得还好，就感觉没什么差上路。
就 Lisa 的时候，就是 CFO 很经常的会帮你选 Nar。
现在感觉那还是一样强，主要菲欧拉跟贾斯也蛮厉害的，但我不会玩。
So he said that he thinks that it hasn't really affected him all that much, like in terms of the patch change. He thinks that Nar is actually still pretty strong on the current patch. It's just that champions such as Fiora, such as Jax are actually stronger. But for him personally, he doesn't know how to play those champions, so he doesn't pick them, and so the patch doesn't really affect him that much. Lastly, I want to ask, what are your thoughts on facing PSG next week? Because your regular season record versus them so far is 0-2. 那最后一个问题想问的就是对于下周要对上 PSG 有什么看法？毕竟例赛的时候对上他们，你们的战绩是0-2。
有什么看法？
有什么期待？觉得会赢吗？
觉得会赢吗？只要把火龙打穿应该就可以赢。不要让他选坦克。
所以又全靠你？
没有全靠我啊，靠下路、中野都靠。
So he said that he thinks the key for how their match versus PSG will go next week is he needs to make sure that he can drag Hanabi down and just not let Hanabi get the lead. He thinks that in the Pixie Man phase, they need to make sure that they need to try to make sure that Hanabi doesn't get to play on a tank. And he said that if they do win versus PSG, it's not going to be entirely because of him, but it will also be because they're mid jungle and will also be because of their bot. So very humble at the end. Nice. All right. Thank you so much, Rest, for the interview. And of course, good luck for the rest of playoffs. 好的，那非常感谢 Rest 选手接受今天的赛后采访。当然要祝 CFO 在接下来的比赛加油。 Bye bye.
Thank you very much, Ririchu. Man, some big words from Rest there. I do feel like he doesn't mince words too much with the statements. Nah, I don't know how to play those champions. I'm not gonna play them. Nah, it was all me in the lane too. I really love the confidence too.
Yeah, I think he's one of those few players that is willing to just say, yeah, that was all me. Like, I did all of that.
Yeah.
Without me, none of that would have worked, and I'm going to be the key to defeating PSG as well. So, there we go. You know, he's not just being confident. I actually think he's right. The meta is in his favor right now, because all
Absolutely.
of those blue side blind picks from Manabi, they don't work as well in 12.14. So, I'm really looking forward to CFO perhaps doing what they did in spring and knocking PSG down early, which would be very, very spicy.
It would be possible. I mean, they did meet him at I believe, the top of the upper bracket before, and this time it would be a little bit of an earlier meeting. And remember, they only were in this position because they missed out on a higher seed in the last couple of weeks. But even so, CFO definitely proving they're right back on point. A big statement win today. FAK Esports definitely gave them a challenge, but they do fall down and now have to run it back here. And unfortunately, this is the fall of Frank Stradamus. Poor Nightstar is at least 1-1, but that's okay.
We're
As
all
we now
wrong in
see
the
it.
end.
Yeah, I mean, but at some point, everyone's got to be wrong, right? Impunity versus Frank, that'll take place on the 21st of August. Of course, we already know MFT and J-Team is happening, of course, tomorrow. And yeah, not only do we have Deep Cross and beyond, we have PSG and CFO, that rematch of the semis and the finals of last spring. I am very excited to see that one next Friday.
Yeah, I can't wait for that one too. But of course, we will have a couple of games to go before that, which is the lower bracket is going to start out. And, you know, I think FAK Esports and both J-Team should be the favorites here. But I think the road for FAK Esports is actually going to get significantly tougher afterwards, because CFO has been able to expose them. They basically have showcased they have one strategy, one type of teamfight composition when it comes to a BO5 series. And I actually think that's somewhat exploitable by a team like Impunity. If they only have to prep one style, it's not unfeasible to see them just go for like a Jinx hyper carry composition with something like a Zillion, just keep them alive.
It's very possible. I think it is going to come down to execution in that matchup, though, and Frank have definitely shown that theirs has gotten significantly better, even from the start of the split, but certainly from the start of the year. This is a team that is definitely improving strength to strength. Are they on CFO's level yet? No, but there is time to go, and they seem to have shown themselves to be fast learners.
Absolutely. I could see Frank, if they get another composition, they will still be the most dangerous team in the lower side of the bracket.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm excited to see the matches, but we are going to have to wait for another full day before everything happens. So join us here tomorrow. We'll pick back up with the lower bracket matches. But for now, with all that said and done, thank you so much, everybody, for watching. We are signing off. We'll see you next time.